This morning, Australia's spy chief reveals a former Australian politician was recruited by a foreign power as calls grow for the person to be named. An exiled Labor member joins forces with Pauline Hanson to become WA's only One Nation candidate. A hazmat warning in place for northern suburbs as a fire breaks out at a recycling plant. And the Matildas on the way to Paris after scoring 10 goals in their Olympic qualifier against Uzbekistan.
This is 7 Morning News, live from Perth with Tina Altieri.
Good morning. Thanks for your company. In breaking news this morning, the 15-year-old boy who carried out a school shooting like we've never seen here in WA has learned his fate. The teenager has been sentenced to 3 years in juvenile detention. He'll be eligible for parole after serving 16 months. The boy pleaded guilty to 9 charges after stealing 2 guns from his parents' gun safe, driving to in his father's car to Atlantis Beach Baptist College in Two Rocks last May, shooting 3 bullets towards the building from the car park before calling police and then handing himself in. Pauline Hanson's One Nation party is back in WA after independent Ben Dawkins confirmed he's joined the party ahead of next year's state election. He was expelled from Labor after pleading guilty to repeated breaches of a family violence restraining order and entered state parliament as an independent instead.
I'm very excited about the opportunity and I hope to be able to live up to the expectations of the One Nation members. And particularly the constituents. And as I said, Senator Hanson has been very clear that I must continue to speak truthfully and hold the government to account.
He's got an opportunity now to prove himself to the members of One Nation and to his constituents mainly that he can do the job. Maybe if he got some support that which I believe the Labor Party haven't given him. And that's what people need to do the job. He's been a lone member in this parliament, as I was in 1996 when I was disendorsed from the Liberal Party. So I've been there. I've worn his shoes. You haven't.
But Senator Hanson hasn't guaranteed him top spot on the ticket. She blamed COVID for the party's result in 2021 when One Nation's vote here in WA plummeted 80%. Deputy Mayor and litigation lawyer Bronwyn Waugh was the surprise winner at a meeting to pre-select the Liberal Party's candidate for South Perth ahead of next year's state election.
Bronwyn, are you confident heading into tonight?
Yes, confident as I can be.
What's your pitch to pre-selectors?
Oh, look, I'll leave that for them.
Look, the outcome illustrates that with plebiscites, you can no longer predict the outcome of the pre-selection process. It is a democratic or more democratic process where every member of the branch has an opportunity to have their say.
She beat local mayor Greg Milner and barrister Hayley Cormann, wife of former Federal Finance Minister Matthias Cormann. Disturbing new details have just been revealed about a former Australian politician who sold out his country after being recruited by a foreign regime. Australia's chief spy says the politician even suggested getting a Prime Minister's family member involved. Political reporter Rob Scott explains.
ASIO Chief Mike Burgess used his annual threat assessment speech here in Canberra to release previously top-secret details, explaining how a group working for a foreign intelligence service trawls networking sites like LinkedIn, posing as consultants, looking for Australians with access to privileged information. The group, which he dubbed the A-Team, offers to pay thousands of dollars for information on trade, defence and foreign policy. He says a few years ago, the spy ring managed to successfully recruit this unnamed former politician, who then proposed introducing the network to a relative of a Prime Minister. Luckily, the plan was foiled.
This politician sold out their country, party, former colleagues to advance the interests of a foreign regime. We confronted the A-Team directly. Late last year, the team leader thought he was grooming another Australian online. Little did he know he was actually speaking to an ASIO officer. The spy was being spied on. The player was being played.
The former politician has now severed ties with the spy network, and because Australia's 2018 espionage laws aren't retrospective, they can't be charged. But there are calls for them to be publicly named. Mr Burgess also warned about the threat of sabotage, saying ASIO is aware of one foreign power carrying out highly sophisticated reconnaissance on our critical infrastructure, looking for weaknesses.
We are in a very contested security environment, and we have a range of complex threats, whether it is from far-right extremists, Islamists, foreign intelligence services or other disruptive actors.
Today, we also learned that more Australian Defence Force personnel are being deployed to the Middle East. Defence Minister Richard Marles says 6 extra ADF members are being sent to help protect vital shipping lanes in the Red Sea. They'll be working with our allies in the headquarters of Operation Hydrant, which has been set up to direct the strikes led by the US and UK on Houthi rebel bases.
The strikes on the Houthi bases is a step up in action, but one that we believe is very important, which is why we're making sure that we are participating.
That contribution is in addition to the extra Defence Force personnel who've already been sent to the Combined Maritime Force headquarters in Bahrain. That's a long-standing operation to maintain rules on the high seas.
A fire has broken out at a waste facility in Bayswater this morning. These pictures in from the site on Duffy Street near the intersection of Jackson Street. A hazmat warning remains in place. Potentially dangerous smoke is blowing in a northwesterly direction. People in an area bounded by Broome Avenue, Collier Road and Tonkin Highway may be impacted by smoke. Residents are now being told to stay inside. A 22-year-old man has been seriously injured after a Nissan Pulsar he was a passenger in crashed while evading police last night. Officers say the 30-year-old male behind the wheel failed to stop for police in Gosnells. The car was later found crashed into a power pole in Kenwick. The driver has now been charged and will face Armidale Court later today. Prince Harry has suffered a defeat in the UK's High Court. The Duke of Sussex failed to have a previous ruling overturned, which saw his security reduced during visits to Britain. Here's Europe Bureau Chief Hugh Woodfeld.
Next stop for the Duke of Sussex, the UK Court of Appeal, with his lawyers saying he still hopes to obtain justice. Trips to the UK by the Sussexes are exceptionally rare these days. Harry spent less than 24 hours in London to see his cancer-stricken father. He has posted in the last few hours a video online sending a message on behalf of a UK charity from California. For years now, Harry and Meghan have complained they are at risk in Britain after a decision to strip them of what is essentially the gold standard automatic royal level protection when they quit royal duties in 2020. In this case, the Duke's lawyers argued among the reasons why they need that level of protection, the fate of Harry's mother, the late Princess Diana, and apparent threats from Al-Qaeda after Harry revealed his Taliban kill count in his book Spare. The UK government committee that makes the decisions argued that because Harry and Meghan are no longer full-time working royals, that decisions about their security will be made in a bespoke manner and a case-by-case basis, and the court agreed. It's likely this has been a costly process for Prince Harry. The expectation is he spent around $2 million Australian dollars on legal fees alone, with 2 other big cases against 2 newspaper groups here in London still pending.
The number of young West Aussies using vapes is growing, according to a new national survey. 8.7% of WA 14 to 17-year-olds have admitted to regular use. That's up from only 3.3% pre-COVID. The National Drug Strategy Household Survey also showed a dramatic drop in West Aussies smoking tobacco cigarettes, but it did show a rise in illicit drug use, including cannabis, meth and cocaine. Several bushfires continue to burn in Victoria's west after yesterday's catastrophic conditions. Cooler weather is helping firefighters today, but the danger is not over, as Cassie Zervos reports.
Well, the state was preparing for the worst, but thankfully it didn't eventuate. But we aren't in the clear just yet. Late last night, there was a fast-moving grass fire moving through a tiny town called Dareel. That's in the state's southwest. Residents there were told it was too late to leave. Here in the Wimmera region, though, the fire danger has been downgraded from catastrophic to high, and that's after we experienced temperatures of up to 42 degrees yesterday and wind gusts of up to 96 kilometres an hour, making it incredibly difficult for those fire crews who have been battling this blaze since last week.
The plan for today is with the significant amount of resources that we have available across the state and in the fire regions at the moment, they're really going to knuckle down and mop up and patrol and contain these fires whilst they really do have favourable conditions.
Temperatures here have eased dramatically. Right now it is just 16 degrees, so residents are hoping the worst is now over.
You're watching 7's Morning News live from Perth. Still to come, President Biden declared fit for duty after a physical examination. And wildfires ripped through Texas, menacing entire towns and destroying dozens of homes.
On 7 News, the extraordinary results of one of the biggest studies into sleep.
Less reports of tiredness.
Special devices attached to adults and children has unlocked the secret to perfect sleep.
I do sleep better.
It has little to do with what you eat, drink or screen time, and it takes just 20 minutes a day. On 7 News at 6.
Welcome back. President Joe Biden has undergone his annual physical examination, a test drawing keen interest from Americans as the 81-year-old seeks re-election in November. It comes as an elder statesman of the Republican Party announces his retirement. Here's US Bureau Chief David Woiwod.
Good morning. Well, it's the result that President Biden and Democrats across the United States had been hoping for, a clean bill of health after the president submitted to his annual physical. The presidential checkup finding the 81-year-old active and fit for duty, doctors identifying no new concerns.
I think I look too young. No, there is something different from last year.
However, like last year, Joe Biden was not subjected to a cognitive test, and calls for one had been growing after a recent special counsel report found Biden was a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
The president doesn't need a cognitive test. That is the assessment of the president's doctor. The president passes, again, a cognitive test every day.
Biden's age has thrust the issue firmly back in the spotlight. At 82, Mitch McConnell, the long-serving Republican Senate leader, today announcing he'll leave his post later this year.
One of life's most underappreciated talents is to know when it's time to move on to life's next chapter.
Under pressure from Trump-aligned factions within his own party, and months after his own health battles, a concussion followed by 2 public freezing episodes, McConnell may be calling time on the top job, but has vowed to stay in the Senate until well after his 85th birthday.
A massive wildfire continues to burn in Texas. It's the second biggest fire in Texas history and has destroyed homes and businesses. Roads have been closed and power cut while a nuclear weapons plant has suspended operations. The blaze has scorched more than 200,000 hectares of land. The state's governor has issued a disaster declaration. The funeral for Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny will be held in Moscow on Friday. The Kremlin critic died suddenly in an Arctic prison earlier this month. His widow has blamed Russian President Putin for his death. She says he's not sure if the funeral will be peaceful or if police will arrest the mourners. Pope Francis has been taken to hospital after telling worshippers at his weekly audience that he had the flu. The 87-year-old spent an hour in hospital in Rome undergoing tests. The pontiff has scaled back his commitments in the past few days. Pope Francis has battled ill health in recent years and was admitted to hospital a year ago with acute bronchitis. Stay with us here on 7. Sport is coming up right after the break, including the Star Eagles set to miss this weekend's pre-season clash with Adelaide. And tickets booked. The Matildas lock in Paris with a 10-goal win. Star Eagles forward Oscar Allen has been ruled out of this weekend's final pre-season clash with Adelaide. West Coast have confirmed they won't be taking any risks with the 24-year-old who has precautionary scanned on a knee complaint after the Dockers clash on Saturday. The Eagles say their new co-captain will be ready for round one. Rising North Melbourne star Harry Sheezel has extended his contract until 2030 in a massive coup for the club. Last night, Melbourne captain Max Gawn released some early pressure on the Demons after a turbulent off-season, starring in a 38-point win over Carlton. New recruit Caleb Windsor all but locked in his opening round debut.
Can he steady and finish? Oh, he's showing a bit, this youngster. He'll be playing in opening round.
Jesse Motlop injured his foot in the first quarter and did not return. Well, Steve Smith remains without 100 since his move to opener dismissed in the morning session of the first test against New Zealand. On a Wellington green top, the Black Caps won the toss and bowled. Usman Khawaja survived a handful of unplayable deliveries, while Smith showed glimpses of his very best, defying seam and swing.
Oh, it's a good shot. It's on the up. We've seen some good runs from Steve Smith, but that's up there with him.
But on 31, Smith was well held by Kiwi keeper Tom Blundell off the bowling of Matt Henry. Well, the Matildas punched their ticket to the Paris Olympics with a ruthless 10-0 demolition of Uzbekistan in front of 55,000 fans at Marvel Stadium. Sam Kerr's replacement, 35-year-old striker Michelle Heyman, starred with 4 goals.
A sold-out Marvel Stadium was on its feet within a minute. But even more impressive, 35-year-old, once retired Michelle Heyman scoring a hat-trick in 15 minutes. Heyman added another to take an 8-0 lead into the half. But the demolition job on Uzbekistan didn't stop there.
Winds up, and Russo scores!
The Matildas winning 10-0 to book a spot in this year's Paris Olympic Games. Michelle Heyman looks the likely replacement for the injured Samantha Kerr.
To put the boots back on and to come out here and play for Australia is incredible.
The Matildas will chase their first ever medal after a 4th in Tokyo.
I think we'll definitely be dreaming big. This team wants to achieve something special as far as we can get and hopefully something physical out of the tournament.
With Paris just 149 days away, the countdown begins.
Mark Beretta, 7 News.
In the FA Cup, Chelsea booked a quarter-final berth with a 3-2 win over Leeds, scoring in the 90th minute.
Gallagher. It's Gallagher who's won it for Chelsea, made the space for himself and planted Chelsea into a 3-2 lead.
Manchester United also left it late, scoring in the 89th minute to defeat Nottingham Forest 1-0. Liverpool rested a host of stars but still eased past Southampton 3-0. I'll have all of your weather details next on 7's Morning News. See you right after the break. Checking your weather details now. Currently 29 degrees in our city and we're looking to reach a top of 33 degrees today. The forecast for the suburbs, a high of 36 degrees for Midland. Cooler conditions towards the coast. A gusty sea breeze this afternoon. We'll likely see Fremantle and Scarborough reach 31 degrees. For the rest of the week, sunshine and 34 degrees tomorrow. Some strong winds early on Saturday before heating up to 35 degrees. A high chance of showers on Sunday, a possible storm as well, 35 degrees, and cooling back down to 30 degrees on Monday. And that is 7's Morning News for this Thursday. Thanks so much for your company. Stay with us. We'll have the very latest updates right across the afternoon and, of course, in our main bulletins at 4 and then at 6 o'clock. I'm Tina Altieri. Enjoy the rest of your day.